Welcome to the pause. Today we're doing a deep dive into a very short but profoundly disruptive piece of text. The goal isn't to hype you up. It's to question a fundamental assumption we make about success, value, and what it means to live a good life.
It really is a piece of writing that challenges um, almost everything we are conditioned to strive for. And the remarkable thing is how quietly it does so.
Yeah, quiet is the right word. The source material we're exploring today opens with these four lines. You don't need to be extraordinary, you don't need to stand out, or build a legacy, or prove you're different.
It's quite the opener.
It is. When I first read those words, my immediate physical reaction was this, I don't know, this profound sense of relief. It felt entirely like setting down a heavy backpack that I didn't even realize I had been carrying.
That invisible backpack is a highly accurate way to visualize it. What you're describing is the temporary release from what we might call the burden of the extraordinary.
The burden of the extraordinary.
Right. We operate within a society that has a deeply embedded cultural obsession with exceptionalism. We're constantly absorbing this ambient message that simply being here, simply participating in the human experience is a baseline failure.
Maybe it's not enough.
Exactly. The implication is always that you must elevate yourself above the crowd just to justify taking up space.
And it's insidious because it rarely looks like a demand. More often, it dresses up as encouragement.
Oh, absolutely.
It's the constant drumbeat of, be your best self or leave your mark on the world. But beneath that cheerful exterior is a genuinely exhausting requirement. We're asked to constantly prove our difference.
Yes.
And if we look at the modern landscape, especially through the lens of social media, that demand is amplified to a completely deafening volume.
Social media is certainly the engine accelerating this phenomenon. If we zoom out and look at the broader picture of human history, for thousands of years, your comparison group was strictly local.
Just the people around you.
Right? It was your village. If you were a relatively kind neighbor, if you contributed to your community, if you were reasonably competent at whatever your trade was, you were considered a success. You were good enough. But today, the geographical boundaries of comparison have completely collapsed.
Which means when you open your phone, you aren't just comparing yourself to the person who lives down the street.
No.
You are comparing yourself to a curated global highlight reel of the most exceptional moments of 8 billion people.
Precisely. You are exposed to the extreme right tail of the bell curve of human achievement every single day, often before you even get out of bed.
You see a 19-year-old tech billionaire launching a rocket.
Right.
Someone running an ultramarathon across Antarctica. A lifestyle influencer with a flawlessly designed home and perfectly behaved children. And meanwhile, my greatest achievement today was successfully finding 2 matching socks.
Which is a perfectly valid achievement, by the way.
Thank you. I thought so too.
But the humor there masks a real psychological hazard. When you are exposed to the extreme end of human achievement constantly, the exceptional slowly starts to feel like the average.
The baseline shifts.
Subtly, but massively. It moves away from being steady and decent to being undeniably extraordinary. And when the baseline is extraordinary, the normal, everyday human experience suddenly feels like you are falling behind.
It makes sense why that leads to such widespread burnout. It's draining. Now, we should add a very crucial nuance here. This text and our exploration of it isn't about criticizing ambition itself.
No, not at all.
Ambition is a deeply human trait. Wanting to master a craft, wanting to solve a complex puzzle, wanting to grow something beautiful. Those are fundamentally good things.
It is an important distinction to make. Ambition is not the enemy here. The text is questioning the exhausting requirement to be extraordinary merely to feel valid as a person. It explores the difference between intrinsic and extrinsic motivation.
So doing it for the joy of it versus the applause.
Exactly. It's the difference between wanting to write a book because you genuinely love the act of writing versus feeling like you have to write a best-selling book so that people will remember your name and validate your worth. We are questioning the performance of exceptionalism, not the pursuit of growth.
So it's about decoupling your internal self-worth from your public legacy, which brings up some heavy considerations. Think about your own life. Why do we feel this constant pressure to stand out? Does a meaningful life actually require a legacy? Who are we trying to prove our difference to?
And if you strip away the audience entirely, what is actually left of the ambition?
That thought alone requires a real shift in perspective to entertain without feeling defensive. That brings us to the next section of the text, which reads, "Somewhere we decided that ordinary meant not enough." But what if ordinary is where life actually happens?
It makes you look at the word itself differently.
It makes me think about when ordinary became an insult. If someone calls a restaurant ordinary, you don't go. If a review calls a movie ordinary, you don't watch it. If someone describes a person as ordinary, it feels like a slight. We've turned words like average and ordinary into synonyms for settling.
It's a tragic linguistic shift because it fundamentally devalues the actual texture of human existence. To understand this, we have to look closely at the deep difference between meaning and recognition.
Meaning versus recognition.
Yes, in modern culture, we have completely conflated the two. We act as if a moment or an action is only meaningful if it is widely recognized, documented, and applauded. But if you analyze the human experience without that filter, the most profound parts of life, the places where life actually happens, as the text suggests, are almost entirely mundane.
It makes you wonder, when you hear about people looking back at the end of their lives, you rarely hear them talk about the day they got a massive promotion or the day they went viral online. It seems like the things that carry the most weight are the quietest moments. Sitting on a porch with a cup of coffee, the sound of their partner breathing next to them, a chaotic, noisy Tuesday evening making dinner, the quiet nod of a neighbor.
Because meaning does not require a spotlight. Recognition is a public event, but meaning is a private resonance.
I love that phrasing, private resonance.
The danger of treating ordinary as not enough is that we end up sprinting right past our actual lives in search of some grand cinematic climax that never really arrives. We spend our days waiting for the extraordinary to happen, completely missing the fact that the steady rhythm of the ordinary is the canvas itself.
But isn't there a risk that if we just accept the ordinary, we become complacent? We hear so much about getting out of our comfort zones. If we just embrace the mundane, do we stop growing?
That assumes growth only happens in the spectacular leaps. But real growth is almost always entirely ordinary. Well, think about it. It's the tedious, unglamorous repetition of practicing a scale on the piano, or showing up to the gym on a rainy Tuesday, or having the 10th difficult conversation with a partner to resolve an ongoing issue.
None of those things are fun to watch.
Exactly. None of those things are extraordinary to witness. They're deeply ordinary. But they are the mechanics of actual growth. When we view the ordinary as a waiting room for the extraordinary, we miss the only place where development actually occurs.
So we are essentially treating 99% of our time on Earth as a commercial break, just waiting for the main show to start. When did we decide ordinary wasn't enough? Is it possible we are missing our actual lives while looking for the extraordinary?
It raises a vital question about how we allocate our attention. If we believe ordinary is inherently deficient, we will never be fully present in our daily routines. We will always be projecting ourselves into some idealized future state where we finally stand out.
The text offers an alternative to that constant projection in its final lines. It asks, what if steady, kind, consistent is more powerful than impressive?
The contrast there is so deliberate.
The rhythm of those specific words is striking. Steady, kind, consistent. They don't demand attention. They don't flash.
They do endure, though. The author sets up a very intentional tension here between quiet contribution and visible success. They pit steady, kind, consistent directly against the word impressive.
Because being impressive is entirely different.
Think about the root concept of being impressive. To impress someone inherently requires an external surface. You cannot be impressive in a vacuum. Being impressive demands an audience to be impressed.
So it's essentially a performance. It implies that the action has less value, or perhaps no value at all, unless there is a spectator there to validate it.
It is an outward-facing metric. Impressive is about how you are perceived by others. But steady, kind, consistent, these are inward-facing metrics. You can be steady and kind entirely on your own in an empty room with no one watching.
Which brings us to a major philosophical dilemma. Does value require an audience? We're heavily conditioned to believe that if a tree falls in the forest and no one posts about it, it didn't happen. If you do something good but you don't get credit for it, does it still matter? But aren't fireworks good? I mean, being impressive can be inspiring. Seeing someone achieve something monumental, seeing a firework light up the sky, that brings people joy. It shows us what's possible. We shouldn't discount the value of the impressive entirely, should we?
Not at all. Fireworks are beautiful, and they serve a purpose. They make us look up. But you cannot build a house on a firework.
That's a great point.
If firework is undeniably impressive, everyone stops and looks at it, but it lasts for 3 seconds and then it's gone, leaving nothing behind but smoke. Now, Think about a foundation.
Like the foundation of a building.
Right. A foundation is buried in the dirt.
Yeah.
No one looks at it. No one applauds it. It is entirely ordinary. But it holds the entire house up, day after day, year after year, through every storm.
Uh,
The text is asking us to consider that being the foundation is actually vastly more powerful than being the firework.
Think about the people who actually keep your world from falling apart. Are they the people who are impressive? The ones who make the grand, highly visible gestures? Or is it the people who are just steady?
The steady ones.
The colleague who always does what they say they are going to do without needing praise for it? The friend who consistently checks in on you without making a big public show of their loyalty?
It is the invisible infrastructure of our daily lives. The quiet power of consistency usually outlasts the loud flash of being impressive every single time. But because the foundation is quiet, we tend to take it for granted. And we spend our own energy trying to be fireworks because that's what gets the applause.
What does it mean to be powerful without being impressive? Does value only exist if someone is watching? Can you be ambitious about simply being kind? Can your greatest ambition be to just be a deeply steady presence for the people around you?
Those are the exact questions this text forces us to confront. And to bring this all together, there is a final, unresolved thought experiment that builds directly on the spirit of these words.
Let's hear it.
I want you to genuinely visualize this scenario. Imagine you wake up tomorrow morning and you know for an absolute undeniable fact that you will never be remembered by history. You will never go viral. You will never achieve widespread public recognition, and no one will ever attach the word extraordinary to your name. If you knew definitively that the pursuit of legacy was completely off the table, how would you spend your day tomorrow? What would you suddenly have the freedom to do or not do? And perhaps most importantly, would it change anything about how you treat the people right in front of you?
You've been listening to The Pause, and we'll be back at 8 a.m. tomorrow.